What is going on, everybody? Today we're looking at throwing together wave here of the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse McFarlane Collector Edition figures. So first up we have Metron, which looks pretty cool. So we got Metron with his Mobius chair. That just looks really cool. Love that design. Excited to see especially how that chair works. Then we also get Mirror Master, so one of the Flash Rogues. So awesome to get him to add with our others. So it looks pretty cool with his design. And then we have our gold label Target exclusive Kite Man. Now of course we had to pre-order this because we have yet to find them in stores or anything. But when we got it, it was the Platinum Edition. Which of course this figure we don't really care for the Platinum Edition because I think it looks more dorky than Kite Man already is itself, so we wanted the normal one. But of course we got the Platinum, and then it's out of stock on Target and can't find it in stores or anything, so far we're just stuck with this version of Kite Man, unfortunately. But overall all three look pretty cool and I'm excited to check them out. So let me get them open out of the box and we'll take a look at them together. So let's start off with Metron, who is a member of the New Gods. He's considered the greatest mind of New Genesis and is an explorer that seeks scientific knowledge in the furthest corners of the universe using his time-traveling Mobius chair. So he has the New God physiology with immortality and has genius-level intellect. And then, of course, he uses Mobius chair that we'll see, which is a vehicle of Metron's invention that allows him to travel through time, space, and dimensions, and it is equipped with a tractor beam powerful enough to pull a planet from orbit. So we got Metron here, which looks pretty cool. Nice design here with his more like classic design with the lighter blue color. So love like the light, I'd say light blue, and then almost powder baby blue for like his underwear and gloves and stuff, and all the outline, especially on like the mask around his face. So that looks pretty neat. So love that design. Love like the orange dot there on top of his head. Of course, you can see his face with the whited out eyes and stuff. That all looks good. And then the design there on his chest. So whatever it's supposed to be going on with that design, you get more of the orange dots and of course the blue lines and everything just painted on the front of his chest there. So that looks good. Like I said, the gloves and underwear in the light blue, and then just blue all the way down to his C. So pretty basic in the design and everything, but just think his head looks pretty cool, and then that design that they have painted on his chest. But movement-wise, his head will twist all the way around, look down that far and up that far. Actually really good movements, and that's probably some of the best mech movements we've gotten in these figures for a long time. Shoulders up to 90 with the butterfly just a little back and forth and rotate around. We get a bicep twist and the double elbow joint that bends all the way up on itself. Then we go down to the wrist that'll twist around and flex back and forth. Then we get the ab crunch, so crunch back and forth and twist around just a little there, it feels like. And then of course at the waist he'll crunch back and forth and twist all the way around there as well. Then we can go down to the hips that'll come up to 90 and out to the side to the splits there. A little bit of a thigh twist going on. The double knee joint that'll bend up that far to the back. And then we can go down to the foot that'll rock back and forth and twist side to side with the toe joint on the end. So decent movements overall, pretty good, especially with that neck range. Everything else about him's pretty normal, but that neck is pretty abnormal with better range than most figures. Now, accessory-wise, he just comes with a set of hands, so he has the two fists there already. So we get this hand that's kind of like an open grippy and then like a sort of pointing hand, which I think would be good for putting him in the chair. Of course, we get the base we can put him on with the DC logo, which I like that they're using that logo on some of these. But he comes with the chair, which is the most important thing, so we'll put him in that, which is the Mobius chair. So it's really cool. We get this Mobius chair all in this like green color. Love like the lighter yellow green that they use for like the little swirl here design at the top and almost like little lightning bolts that it's got on it. But the nice chair design, it looks good, with all sorts of buttons and stuff in here. Just looks pretty good. Something you'd see from the New Gods and everything just with that design. Overall looks good. Hollow on the backside though, so not much going on to it, but looks pretty nice and everything. So we can take Metron and put him in the chair. So there's Metron in the Mobius chair. Of course, I didn't think he'd be able to sit the best in it and everything because with the way the McFarlane joints bends and stuff, not really these to get him sit and stuff. So that's about the best I can do there, which looks pretty good and like that design. Just he looks so good sitting in the Mobius chair there. And of course, there was a platinum version where it's, I'd say, the more modern or whatever, where he's more like in a black design. So that would have been cool too as well. And I think the chair was maybe a different color as well. So you could have got that one and stuff if you like the more modern design compared to this more classic version. But just looks really cool now having this version of the New God added to our collection. And of course we can add him in with the rest of our New Gods. So there's Metron now with Darkseid, Calabac, and Orion, all our members of the New God so far. So really cool to add him and his Mobius chair into the collection now. Just looks really cool. Oh, and I almost forgot his card. So there's a picture of him on the Mobius chair again. Looks more like maybe that newer design course could just be the shading stuff where it looks more darker there. And of course we get his story on the back. But it says the origins of Metron are unknown, but at some point in history, the New Gods received an amazing chair from Enigmatic Presence Mobius. It allowed Metron access to time, space, and dimensions and all the knowledge in the universe, except for the mysterious benefactor's identity. On his incredible journeys, Metron witnessed multiple crises, destroying and remaking numerous realities. So there's a little more explanation on Metron there with the Mobius chair, so really nice addition to the collection. And next up, we have Mirror Master, who is Sam Scrutter. Now, he's a burglar that murdered a woman with a mirror during a home invasion and was sent to prison. But while working in the prison's mirror factory, he mixed the wrong chemicals, which caused the mirror to develop special properties. So he studied and learned how to create mirrors and with different effects. He then created a costume and used mirrors to create duplicates of other people to commit crimes as Mirror Master, often being defeated by the Flash, and he joined up with the Rogues. Now, he has genius level intellect about mirrors and uses them to disguise himself and hypnotize people, and of course uses a mirror gun. So it looks pretty cool here with this nice design. Of course, it's hard to tell. I think this is more of like the maybe classic look to him. I think color wise is more modern, where it's more of this burnt orange and green, but with outfit just design overall it looks more classic, but looks good overall. So cool. I love how he has like the head covering there with like the piece around his neck all in green, get a belt around his waist with some holsters off to the side for like his guns and stuff, some glove pieces or at least a wrap on his arms there in green, and then boots in green as well, and then this orange color, like I said, burnt orange because it's a little dark orange, but orange color there for the rest of his body outfit, which of course we've seen this design with other characters in the past from DC Multiverse. So it looks pretty good overall. Love how he also has like the little like smirk on his face and stuff, looks good. And then just his helmet design or whatever is going on there looks pretty awesome as well. So just nice to get another rogue added to our collection. Now, movement-wise, his head will twist all the way around. Can look down that far and up that far, so just a little movement there. Shoulders up to 90 with the butterfly and rotate around. We get a bicep twist and the double elbow joint that bends up that far. Get the wrist that'll twist all the way around and hinge on the joint there. Then we get the ab crunch to the upper crunch, especially a little back and forth, and should be able to twist her around there. It doesn't feel like it'll go all the way around. And then at the waist, of course, crunch a little bit more. It's hard with this spiky belt piece, but crunch more and then twist all the way around there as well. Then we get the hips that'll come up there towards 90 and out to the side to the splits. A little bit of a thigh twist, not much though. The double knee joint that'll bend up that far to the back. And then of course down to the foot that'll rock back and forth and twist side to side with the toe joint on the end. So good movements, so pretty standard there, and doesn't have the good neck like Metron had. So pretty standard for the McFarlane. The accessories, he comes with a number of hands. So he has 2 grip hands on with the trigger fingers, which would be good for his guns, but it also comes with a set with the fist hands. And then if we want to vary it up as well, we also get a set of gloved hands with the green that matches his gloves. So we get a set of green fist hands as well as a set of green hands with the trigger fingers. Now, I do believe we have an issue with one of ours where if we put it in, it's really loose, especially if we try and give him the gun. So we'll just leave him barehanded for now. But with those trigger finger hands, we can give him his mirror guns, which can create mirror clones of people, take them into the mirrorverse, as well as teleportation and dimensional travel. So multi-use guns here with the mirror designs. So that's cool. So let's put these in his hands. So there's Mirror Master with his 2 guns, which looks pretty cool. So again, nice to have those designs. Like I said, there is an issue. I think it's the same hand, so it must be with the peg or something with looseness. So like if you move the hand a little, it kind of flops down there to the side. Like I said, the green one is much worse, so that's why we're leaving the bare hands on him. But yeah, you get the guns there that you can put in his hands, which look pretty cool. Of course, get the base we'll put him on, so that'll keep him standing there. And we get the card, so there's a picture of Mirror Master coming through a mirror, so it looks pretty cool there. And his story on the back. And it says, Criminal Sam Scudder used the codename Mirror Master, wielding devices allowing him power over reflective surfaces. He was an early member of Central City's Rogues, villains employing themed high-tech weapons in their crimes. Mirror Master can merge from any reflective surface and drag victims back to the mirror world. So that sounds pretty cool. Of course, cooler than what you'd seem like for him, especially for a person named Mirror Master and everything. But as I mentioned, now that we have him, we can add him in with the rest of our rogues. So there's our other 2 rogues we have so far with Captain Cold and Captain Boomerang. So really cool. Of course, we need more rogues to go with them. And of course, they can then face off against Flash. That we can bring in our Barry Allen Flash there as well to have him face off against. So really cool to get Mirror Master, like I said, mostly just to get him to add more to our rogues because we don't have very many, which is quite surprising. So adding any members to the rogues is always a good thing and nice to have Mirror Master. And finally, we have Kite Man, whose real name is Charles Brown. Yes, his name is Charlie Brown. And he's fascinated with kites as a small child. And he would grow up to use kites as part of his costume as a villain. And as Kite Man, he would use a large kite strapped to his back to glide around, releasing a barrage of kites to overwhelm his enemies. And was often stopped by Batman and sent to prison, where he would continue his antics upon release. So he looks pretty fun here. Like I said, this is more of the original design and the platinum version. So not the one we want specifically, but like I said, until we can find the other one, we'll just have to stick with this one. But it looks nice though with this classic design, kind of dorky though, where he does have more of the helmet design on. So you get more of this yellow helmet with his goggles, which looks pretty nice. Love like the design or whatever that's going on there, like the reflectiveness and stuff. We get a kite on top of his head and on his chest and belt, and then love his costume with the bright green color, so night fire green, and then just normal green there on his arms and legs, so like from his underwear piece down the legs, and then we get yellow gloves and boots there on his feet. So it looks pretty good overall. Love the colors, and of course have his kite piece here strapped to his back, or I guess backpack piece for the kite strapped there to his back as well, and we'll get some pieces for that. So it looks pretty decent overall. Like I said, kind of dorky with his design, but of course for a guy named Kite Man, that's kind of what you'd expect, but looks good overall still. But for movements, his head will twist all the way around, look down that far and up that far, so again about the standard neck movements. Shoulders up to 90 with the butterfly and rotate around. We get the bicep twist and the double elbow joint that bends all the way up there. We get the wrist that'll twist all the way around and has the hinge back and forth. Then we get the ab crunch to the upper crunch back and forth and twist around. And then at the waist, he'll crunch back and forth and twist all the way around. Then we get the hips that come up to 90 and out to the side to the splits there. Of course, a little bit of a thigh twist. The double knee joint that'll bend up that far to the back, not bad at all. And then down to the foot, rock back and forth and twist side to side with the toe joint on the end. So decent movements. Again, the standard McFarlane, of course, we've seen this body multiple times. So the nice classic body they use for a lot of people. So works good overall. But accessory-wise, he comes with some additional hands. So we get some weird hands. So he has the fist hand and then like the kind of relaxed hand, whatever. We get a set of fists there. So we get a fist. Although we get one that's like molded and one that's painted, so it's kind of really awkward. You can see the color difference with the yellows and stuff, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. Can't really tell exactly what the original color was of the one, but we get a set of fist hands as well as a set of trigger finger hands. Again, don't know why he really needs trigger fingers, but you know, we get those again. This one has been painted where this one's molded in yellow, so you can see the color difference in them, so kind of awkward with that. Then for his backpack or the kite piece, we do get a piece, so if we want to just have it plain and basic, we get this piece we can plug in, so it's just like I said, a plug, so we can plug this in, so it kind of just fills it in, you know, adds it more of the backpack piece there. But of course for him, he has a kite, so we also get this big kite that we can put into his back, so again in a nice bright green colors and stuff. We can see how it pegs there. We get like the, you know, the frame of this kite and everything, so that's pretty cool. We can then plug in, so he gets that in his back now. So there's what Kite Man looks like with the big kite now on his back. Now unfortunately his backpack's just kind of clipped on him around here. You can easily take this off and stuff, but it's kind of wobbly, so it doesn't really sit on the vest and moves around and everything, so could have some issues with that. But and it makes him back heavy, of course, so falls down there. But of course we get the base we'll put him on, so that'll help him stand. So there's Kite Man with his kite on the base, and that does keep him standing there. So looks good overall. Like I said, very weird and dorky design, but you know, like I said, for someone named Kite Man, what would you expect otherwise? So that looks good. And of course we get his card there, so his picture of him flying through Gotham with his more modern design. So looks good there. And of course get the story of Charlie Brown on the back. And it says, after studying wind in school, Charles Brown fell into a life of crime, designing the aerodynamics of the Joker's Jokermobile, but otherwise regarded as a loser, even by his wife. He became Kite Man when the Riddler murdered his son during the War of the Jokes and Riddles, adopting the identity and honor of his boy, with whom he used to fly kites with. Hell yeah. So there's a guy's better understanding of Kite Man there, which is pretty cool. So like I said, it'd be nice to have the more modern design, because like I said, this one looks even more dorky for Kite Man, but still looks good and a nice fun addition to the collection. Well, that's it for our DC Multiverse McFarlane Collector Edition figures, where we got Metron with the Mobius chair, we got Mirror Master, and Kite Man. So all three of these are pretty cool, nice additions, especially with Metron and Mirror Master. Like I said, Kite Man's just a weird character, but then, like I said, wish we had the normal version, but this one will work until we finally get that one. But looks good overall. I especially love the Metron and the Mobius chair. Just that design is always a fun thing to me, and love having that, and I got a Mirror Master for the Rogue specifically. So let me know what you thought of these three figures down in the comments, and if you enjoyed my review, let me know with that like and hit the subscribe button to see more. But I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you all stay awesome out there, and I'll see you in our next review.